In the last few videos we have talked extensively about which components are going into our new server. We have talked about CPU, motherboard, RAM, the case, power supply not yet, but it will come in the next one. We have talked about so much stuff. But one thing we have not touched even in the slightest is how the hell I'm going to cool all of this. Now, as part of this project a very long time ago, I have already requested that Arctic Freezer 4U, right? Yeah, 4U. And we have covered it in a separate video where we mounted it down on a 3900K, which was a complete train wreck. But in the very beginning when I requested this, the idea was to put it into this case later on. Now the thing about this is a 4U cooler. However, it doesn't fit into all 4U cases because of the protruding heat pipes in the top and a bit of plastic. Now in our case, I measured it down and it still fits. However, in case it doesn't fit, or in case that your 4U server is very much 4U and the cooler is a tiny bit higher than 4U, for these use cases, Arctic has a solution, and in fact they had the solution before I even started to build the server. This is the new Arctic 4U-M. M as in probably multi-socket. There are just a few differences between the old 4U and the new 4U. One of which is that this one here is now multi-socket, meaning you can mount it on an SP3 socket, you can mount it on an LGA 4189 and 4677. It comes in very handy that they printed it right here, otherwise I would have never known. Other than that, apparently Arctic also backtracked a lot on the usage of plastic and all in order to make it more compatible with 4U cases. And here we got the mounting for SP3, which is exactly the one we need. And here we have the front fan and the back fan. Now I can already see they changed it a tiny bit, and in order to install the fans, all we essentially need to do is mount them down in regards to that airflow path, which is printed or stamped into the top little fin. That was stupid. That was wrong. Oh no, getting these off is like incredibly hard. I need a flat head. Okay. So air is, yeah. This is going here and this one is going here. Yeah, and just by looking and remembering how the original one looked like, I can already see the difference. Yeah, and just by looking, the new one is definitely a lot shorter and lower. The difference is significantly bigger than I expected. However, both of them are still 8 heat pipes direct touch cooler. Now today is not going to be a not mind-boggling and nerve-shattering day, because I have not booted the server yet. I have no clue if I mounted down the CPU using the correct torque setting, or I use the one that I found online that AMD specifically says in their guide. However, is my 50 euro torque wrench there a good one? Did it do a good job? I have no clue. We will find out when you first boot that system. Ta-da! Assembled. Okay, and for myself and for the purpose of this video, everything related to the original Arctic 4U is going to go on the left side of me, or for you the right one, and everything to the right of me, or for you left, is going to be about the new one, the M version. So let's take a look at just the heatsinks, which aren't that different. A little bit lower, but not in the slightest like shorter, like from a width standpoint. How is that even possible? Did the fans add so much real estate? Seems that Arctic has cut some plastic on the fans. Interesting, I didn't know. So the heatsink of the new one is just very slightly lower. Let's count the fins.
1 hour later.
49 I counted, and the new one has 57. Yeah, it does look like the fin spacing is identical. No, it really does. Really identical. But I guess let's start with the old one, mount it down on the CPU, and then hope that everything boots up as expected. Nerve-wracking part 2. You know what? Let's keep that MX6 from Arctic for the final build, because I'm going to switch it all around all the time. So let's take some other thermal paste that I can just splash without losing it. Like for example this Gamdias one, because why the hell not? If I was a CPU fan header on a server motherboard, where would I be? Fun fact, I just realized that the DIMM slots for the RAM are written on the motherboard. I lost hours to research where is what and where and how to connect everything. I could have just read it. A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, D1, D2. Yeah, and I should connect everything to number 2. So I did it correct. Just I lost a lot of time in it. Still, where the frick is my CPU fan header? Rear fan, front fan, front fan, front fan, front fan, front fan, front fan. I don't think there is a CPU fan header. I think, yeah, because a lot of server motherboards don't have any CPU fan, like they just have heatsinks. And the front fans are doing all the work and the rear fans. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So that's just connected to front fan 1, which should be the, yeah, that's rear fan. Fuck off. Front fan 1, this one here. Ah, perfect. Before I ran into a real problem, I already came up with a solution, because we are not going to put a GPU in here, and I'm not planning to do it at all. Also not for the purpose of this test here today. But server motherboards, in general, just use really old VGA ports, and this is the only monitor that I have that still uses VGA, which is available at the moment. This is basically my server monitor. It is sitting on top of the server just to, you know, show lines of whatever commands are done. And it does nothing else all day, which is exactly what we'll do later on, so let's just steal it quickly and hope that nobody realizes what I just did. So that problem is solved. It needs some power, and from here all I need to do is give this board some power on itself. This is just the first whatever power supply I have lying around. It is not the final one that is going to be used later on. This is just now to power the server, and I just really hope that it boots up. But 24 pin, and I believe, oh yeah, no, there is an eATX 12 volt. Come on, don't be so stiff. What is an eATX 12 volt? Oh, it's just a regular CPU, 8-pin EPS. I just connected it the wrong way. Great start. Okay, everything is powered, and I've prepared a little SSD right here. Power to the power supply, and we can start. I don't think I have ever been so stressed out about first up booting whatever. Yeah, let's take my coffee out of the way. Not that I destroy something. Okay, how do I short this thing now? That looks like it says panel 1. Do I have like a boot button? Oh yeah, I have a start button. That makes stuff easy. Oh, motherboard does something. We have a little monitor, fan spins. We have a whole different thing today, because I have no clue if the CPU is like supported by default. There is a possibility that the motherboard is running on the original BIOS it was like produced on, in which case the CPU will not be recognized, and I can somehow try to find myself a older AMD EPYC CPU that fits into the socket, an SP3 one from the original production, and then somehow update the BIOS, which is going to be very, very good and really destroy my budget for this year. It says C2, C8. Hey, at least the fans are already running. That's already something. Asus! It says Asus! It shut off. It restarted. It needs to boot cycle, I hope. It's good. It said Asus. It really makes sense to me that it needs to boot cycle a bunch of times. The motherboard booted. So CPU is supported to some degree at least. I can still BIOS update later, but at least we are getting 2 BIOS or 2 boot screen, which is, I see again, Asus. Black screen, I'm waiting. It says again Asus. And a system initialization, yeah. There is like a loading bar in the bottom, which is like barely seeable. And once it comes to the end, it... Okay, now I see. We got the usual boot screen now. Sorry, you won't see it on camera anyway. The light is just too bright. It does like the usual thing where it says Asus in the top and then a bunch of lines. And we are on BIOS. Woo! And we have 524,000 megabytes of RAM. Nice. Just imagine how many Chrome tabs I can open up with this. Like 3 Chrome tabs. Yeah, we have here a bunch of optimization, performance tuning stuff available to us. Can you see anything at all? No. I'm just trying to find out what BIOS version we are running on. We have 0202 BIOS information. 0202. Let's see what the latest one is. Asus KRPA U16. And the latest one that exists seems to be 0701. So 0202, that's like September 21. It does Milan support, or it enables Milan support. So thankfully somebody updated the BIOS on this one. We can update it heavily. This is like BIOS version 4 or whatever, and now we are at 07 and 0207. That's a big difference. But I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to do this later on. For today, I'm going to test this cooler, replace it with the other one, and see how much performance we lose for the bit of like heatsink area that we lost here. But everything seems to be fine. Let's save the configuration and boot to the SSD, because apparently there is a Windows boot manager on there, so there is Windows on there, which is great. I'm just hoping that it has like an older Windows 11 version where I don't need to like reset the pin code again. So let's just see what happens. And of course, notorious for server motherboards, boot takes like minutes and you just wait. But on the bright side, on my Dell Optiplex, booting it up once, just getting through like the boot cycle and getting to where FreeNAS is doing its thing, that's like 5 minutes on its own. It's incredibly tedious. And I swear, every time we had an issue with the server and I needed to reboot it again and again and again, I lose a whole day just because of the boot process. It takes so freaking long. And this is, let's say 30 seconds. Very, very long for consumer board, but for server hardware, that's nothing. It says I have 1 drive, 2 keyboards, 1 mouse, 3 hubs. And where exactly is a second keyboard? Now I got the whole thing to run, which is great. A random old Windows 11 install that I still had lying around. It will do for today. However, apparently Hardware Info doesn't like the AMD Epic. It just doesn't do anything. So I quickly installed Hardware Monitor. I will just record with my phone because lack of better alternatives with the things I have here now. I'm not going to do a screen recording using a iGPU on a motherboard. That's not a very good idea. So recording with my phone. Yeah, we got a lot of RAM. The CPU is running. I got everything, but it is hot. Like really hot for doing nothing. Oh. I just hope that this is because I'm running like Windows 11, which was previously installed on I have no clue what system, what CPU, what motherboard. I hope the chip is not burning 150 watts by default idling, because it is sitting at, I hope, 1%. 3.2 gigahertz all cores, 1% load. Oh my god, you need to see this. This is incredible. Look at that. Look at all of these cores. Cute. Oh, I forgot the thing for controlling the fans. What I brought with me now on the flash drive is that fan control software to control the fans, and I'm really not sure if this will work. And just to say, the whole thing is incredibly laggy, but that's probably because I have an old Windows version running here. However, for the purpose of today, this is going to do it. We don't need a fresh Windows that works flawlessly, especially on the cable that we are running. I just need to hit the CPU shortly very, very hard, measure the temperature, and then continue. And apparently Hardware Monitor just crashed, which is never a good thing. If your like Hardware Monitor program is crashing, that's not a good thing. Can I control the fan speed at all? Yes, but not the front fans apparently. I have like 6 fans that I can control, and I have 2 front fans that I can't control. One of which is running at 1000 RPM, so I guess that's the one that I'm running right here, right now. So let's just swap this for like a rear fan, or not. Where do we have the rear fan? Here we have rear fans. I can't control them. Okay, so we will do it without control. I will just hit CPU Z, the stress test, and I will reconnect this to like the back fan. Like the front fan more. And we will just see in Hardware Monitor what happens here. Oh no, you know what? I have a great idea. Give me 1 second. I have this external controller that I can power using SATA from Noxua, and I can use this one to force the cooler to spin at 100%, because I'm just measuring like max fan speed today. So this is going here, and this will be, I don't think I need a secondary extension, and this will connect to this one. And now I should be able to just, ta-da! Okay, so we are right now idling, sitting at an average CPU die of 66.4. That's brutal EN hardware monitor crashed. Hardware info, sorry. Hardware info. Because hardware monitor doesn't do anything today. I think if it crashes again, I will just need to reinstall Windows to get like normal behavior. Because yet I have not even started the stress test. But let's see what happens if I start it. Wow! We are hitting CPU-Z stress test. We are sitting at a CPU-Z average of 86.4, but we are burning 274 watts. That's holy damn! And that die temperature average is not changing like at all. It is straight up 86.2, 86.1, 86.2. It is very, very stable. I believe that is thanks to the direct touch cooling. With direct touch, you don't have like a buffer zone like you have with nickel-plated copper bases. Whatever the cooler allows will go straight through, and it's basically it. Which is something to keep in mind for benchmarking individual coolers, but wow. 273 watts. Just think about how destroyed that cooler was. I can even touch it. It's hot, yeah, but it's not burning my fingers, not like last time. If you remember, when we installed this one on the 3900K, it was a train wreck. It didn't perform well at all. Here, however, on the big-ass cooler, on the big-ass, IHS, 86.1, it is very, very, very stable. I will just write down the 86.1 to not forget them for later on. Original was 86.1. It is averaging 86.1 over the last minute and a half, and it is still 86.0, 86.1 was very, very stable. I'm shocked. I'm really, really shocked that this performs like that. 273 watts, and it is just sitting at 86 with a fan that isn't that loud. Like, this is not loud. I had the Deep Cool Assassin 4 on the table yesterday. That one was louder. But okay, this is working. We got a number. And actually all I need to do now is shut this down, replace the old or original Freezer 4U cooler with the new one, do the exact same thing, and determine how much performance we lose just by losing a bit of heatsink height. Let's quickly do that. Ta-da! Now let's move these here on the original one. And now coming in with the new and enhanced multi-socket Freezer 4U. Looks pretty much identical to me. Thanks Gamdias for the whole tube or the multiple tubes that you sent over, because I just wasted like 7 or 8 CPU installations. Oh, something I did not realize. SP3 mountings have 2 screws more like narrow together than the other one. Let's say the bottom one are more spaced out. I did not even realize that. And actually that's very important with the socket, like the screw orientation, that one is more spaced out than the other one, because depending on how I orient it later on in the case, if I want to have exhaust in the front or in the back of the like server chassis, I need to know that. But thankfully, using Arctex mounting, I can replace the two, so it can basically switch the whole thing around. That's something that is solvable pretty easily. Again, something that I've learned during this whole server build. SP3 sockets are not symmetrical. Okay, we are almost ready for round 2. With the new cooler, the CPU is still clogging up 150 watts while idling. I sincerely hope that is just like Windows stuff. Oh my god, if that is always the case, I will heat up the office even more than I do now. Who said AMD Epics were like consumption friendly? That's definitely not true. Come on, CPU-Z. I would have loved to use whatever other program, like run a Cinebench run or whatever, but I doubt that the Windows that I have in here will survive that, and moving anything onto the system right now is a real hassle, so let's keep it at CPU-Z, because I have that pre-installed. If it would start!
1 hour later.
Okay, we are ready. Yeah, seeing this image here, that gives me a good feeling. But let's start the benchmark. Oh, the stress test more, but a bit higher this time, 276, but that's like 2 watts. That's very much margin of error. And we are sitting at 86.3, 86.3, and still 86.3. Yeah, let's give this a minute, but I have the feeling that nothing will change. And that basically the base of the 4U was like its limit. We are now pushing 275 watts, which is maybe a watt and a half max more than before. And we are sitting at 86.3 degrees C, 86.2, 86.3, of course die average. Interesting to see here is that the individual CCDs are significantly colder, like 54, 55, 54, 53 and so on. And it's just like the die that is sitting so ridiculously high, but ridiculously high, 86 in a stress test. So it's fine. Yeah, but I can see nothing changes. It's 86.3. I just reset the average counter, but we were averaging like the last few minutes already, 86.2, 86.3, and we are pushing 275 watts. So no, I can leave this on for the next 10 minutes, but no, the difference between the new Arctic Freezer 4U-M and the old one is literally, I can't find it. Which is, in the grand scheme of coolers, might sound like a bad thing, like the new cooler is exactly how the old one. However, this is smaller. The purpose of this is not to deliver better performance, because just looking at this is incredible. 275 watts, and it is sitting at 86.2, so that's a very good result for an air cooler. However, there is no difference, and the main purpose of this cooler was not to create a difference, it was to create a smaller form factor cooler in order to house it into more cases, make it more compatible with more 4U cases. And I think Arctic did a tremendous job at that. The performance didn't change at all. They don't need to like advertise it as a little bit less of a cooler than the old one. It's just different, a bit smaller. Apparently they didn't lose even a margin of error of performance switching from bigger to smaller. And let's maybe just stop all of this. There's no need to make the CPU run at almost 300 watts all the time. So wow, I'm kind of shocked. I was under the impression that there is going to be like, let's say a 5, maybe 10% decrease in performance because we lost the height, which just didn't. Really, like nothing changed here. First off, thank you very much for Arctic for sending it over. And for me, the next time when I put all of this into the server chassis, which is sitting underneath my table now for a week, and I'm hitting it with my feet all the freaking time and it really hurts. But for the next time I'm going to put this into this one, and at that point I will also decide if we are going to use the smaller or the big one. To make it easy, I'm trying to stay on the old one, the big one, not because it's better, because apparently it really isn't, but I want to keep the new one around in the office because it is multi-socket, which the old one was not. So the old one, the only purpose I will find for it in the next decade is inside that one server. And the new one, I might do some more stuff with it. I had a great idea that was sent to me on Discord where we could maybe somehow improve the performance of such a cooler using a regular consumer grade CPU. So maybe we will do that at some point, but I will try to fit the old one. But of course, if I need to switch to the smaller one, the lower one, I will do it, no questions there. But we will find that out once everything goes in. The funny thing is, I didn't even know that the 4U had compatibility issues in some cases. That's something that Arctic told me when they released the new one, which is a bit smaller and multi-socket. So that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought it was just super mega compatible and nobody cares, but apparently that wasn't always the case. Maybe I would have been in that bracket of use cases, who knows? Well, we will find out next time. But yeah, you know the plan. Old one if I can, new one if I have to. If I can, keep the new one, do something cool with it, use it on a 3900K, and then see what happens there. But for today, this is going to be it. Again, a big thank you to Arctic for sending over the 4U and the 4U-M. Amazing coolers, really amazing coolers. But yeah, for next time, installing the whole bunch of things into the server chassis, and maybe a bit of hard drives, we will see about that. But for today, this is going to be it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.